Hello, everybody. It's George from Ireland. So, welcome back to the channel again. Now, the dust has settled on the election. Makes me reflect on that mantra that Labour repeated incessantly. And of course, if you tell a lie often enough, most people will fall for it. And that is 14 years of Tory chaos. So, this thing that Angela Rayner was coached to trot out in every single speech without fail, so is entered the public psyche, but it's highly misleading. So the Conservatives were in office for 14 years, that is true. But don't forget that the Liberal Democrats were in coalition with the Conservatives for the first 5 years. So would that be only 9 years of Conservative chaos? And of course, it wasn't chaotic, certainly not at the beginning. And so in 2010, the Conservatives had the most votes and the most seats, but it was short of a majority, didn't have 326. So what should you do? Go in as a minority government, and that would be feebler and less stable. Surely, so if you're against chaos, you think it's right to form a coalition, which is what the Conservatives did. So why would Labour not give them some plaudits for that? And of course, the Liberal Democrats made the right decision in choosing to go into government with the Conservative and Unionist Party. Now, I know they lost 2/3 of their vote share, but you're elected to serve all the people, not just those who voted Lib Dem. And it was their first sniff at government in peacetime since 1922. And obviously, remember, in the early 20s, the Liberals were a junior coalition partner because only a third of the Liberals, the Lloyd George faction, served in the government under him as Prime Minister. 2/3 of the Liberals stuck with the official leader, Henry Herbert Asquith. Um, because of course, you're serving the public through opposition, but you can serve them better in government to actually implement your policies. They had, what was it, 6 out of 23 cabinet seats, the Liberal Democrats, and sometimes they couldn't get what they wanted. They were the junior partner, but they could mitigate what they would perceive as the harm of the Conservative policies. So that was providing stability and continuity. And then David Cameron winning decisively in 2015 to form a single party government. And he stayed in office for 6 years. And that's average for a prime minister. So not chaotic at all in the first 6 years. So, 14 minus 6, that takes us down to 8. And then there was Theresa May for 3 years, which is on the short side for a prime minister. Um, but she provided continuity in as much as everybody pledged that whatever the outcome of the 2016 Brexit referendum, the will of the people would be implemented. And then she went forward with that. We know that she campaigned for Remain, but she was honouring her promise. And the Labour Party and the Liberal Democrats, they both agreed that the settled will of the British people must be implemented. Admittedly, there was a caveat from the Lib Dems. They said, okay, we'll negotiate a deal or with the European Union, and then we'll have a second referendum, leave the European Union on the basis of this deal just negotiated with the European Union, or stay in the European Union unconditionally. Um, and so that's what she was trying to do, to provide continuity. There would have been discontinuity and it would have been chaotic. There would have been public uproar and no doubt disorder on the streets had she said, well, I'm going against the will of the majority of people. Never have so many people voted for anything in the United Kingdom as voted for Brexit. And I know 48% of people were against it. Fine. But let's look at the other way around. Supposing Remain had won and then Her Majesty's government had taken the UK out of the European Union anyway, against the will of the people, there would have been consternation, and rightly so. So I don't accept that that was chaotic. Now, it's true that she repeatedly failed to get her agreement with the European Union passed by the House of Commons, and that was usually by Labour and the Liberal Democrats dishonestly and immorally voting against it. I don't dispute their legal right to do so, and indeed the Remainiac faction of the Tory party, and so that was caused chaos. The whole Brexit issue would have been settled a lot sooner had it not been for that. And then the United Kingdom without the European Union, and there would have been certainty. It would have been a lot better for business. I know a senior business executive said to me at the time, all this uncertainty is very bad for us because people like to know what the situation is rock solid. They can make decisions because they've got a view to the long-term future. This is going to stay the same. And they're just reassured by that. So the unpredictability, which was actually caused by the Ramonas, is what caused a difficult situation then. I wouldn't say it was chaotic by a long shot. Anyway, when she felt that her authority was fatally undermined by losing that attempt to get the Brexit bill passed 3 times in a row, that is when she tendered her resignation. Could she have fought on? Maybe. Anyway, that's when Boris Johnson came in And by him winning decisively in 2019, I don't see how that was remotely chaotic. Single party government again, with the highest vote share for any party since 1979, the best result in 40 years. A healthy majority, not as high as a majority as he would have got, historically speaking. If you get 44% of the vote, you expect even more seats than the Conservatives won that time. So many sensible policies during COVID got the United Kingdom into a very difficult situation at the time. But admittedly, there were the lockdown parties and there were lies from him about many things. Now, there's usually a truth behind the mythos, and here it is. There was some disorder because of his gross mendacity. And obviously, there were attempts to bring him down. Theresa May had survived a vote of confidence in her leadership in, I think it was January 2019. There've only ever been 5 votes of confidence in Conservative leaders. 4 out of 5 times, the leader has won. But if a vote of confidence is held, no leader has survived more than 2 years since then. John Major in 1995 survived, taken down in the general election 1 year and 10 months later. Or Ian Duncan Smith is the only one felled by in October 2003. And then coming on to Theresa May, so she resigned about 6 months later, July 2019. Boris Johnson survived a vote of no confidence in June 2022. It was the day after the Diamond Jubilee celebrations ended, but of course he's brought down by a cabinet revolt only a month later, led by Rishi Sunak. So was that the right thing to do, the wrong thing to do? Well, Labour abominated Johnson and called for him to resign. They thought he should have been kicked out. Be careful what you wish for, you might get it. He was kicked out by the Conservative Party. So you should thank the Conservative Party for doing what you wanted to have done. So if that was chaotic Labour, blame yourself because you demanded it be done and your wish was granted. You can't have it both ways. Getting rid of Johnson is bad. And then you blame people for getting rid of, sorry, you're saying getting rid of Johnson is bad. Okay. So then don't demand people get rid of Johnson. And then obviously Liz Truss came in. Now this is where there is some truth to what people are saying, but it wasn't 14 years of Tory chaos, is 49 days. Remember, Liz Truss's policy was only persisted with for about 33 days. Bear in mind, she became Prime Minister on the 6th of September. 2 days later, the Queen died. There's a period of about 10 days from then to the funeral in which ordinary political activity was suspended. And it's only after that that Liz Truss implemented her catastrophic economic policy. And even she changed course about 6 days before she stood down as Prime Minister. So that was a bit chaotic. But presumably you wanted Liz Truss gone, and the Tory party kicked her out. So again, don't demand that Liz Truss is kicked out and complain that she's kicked out. Don't demand that Liz Truss's economic policy is scrapped and then complain that it's scrapped. So you can't have it both ways. Would you prefer Liz Truss stayed in office all the time? Would you prefer that policy was stuck with for the next couple of years until the general election? Surely not. So I don't accept that there was that. But the Conservative Party was boringly consistent about some things, about getting Brexit done and finally managed to get it done, about trying to control immigration, failing to control immigration, about supporting Ukraine and so forth, or the stop the boats of the Rwanda plan, which again had only limited success right at the end. So you can't have it both ways. It's hypocrisy and illogicality from the Labour Party. So yes, there were difficulties in the Conservative government, but particularly towards the end, which is usually the way, because parties run out of steam, run out of ideas, they're just exhausted. The public get fed up with them. The press want to give them an increasingly hard time. And it's time to give the other lot a turn. It wouldn't be a very salubrious thing for democracy if a party won too many elections. That would become, a dominant party state. Another point is, well, then MPs get fractious. They've either been passed over for promotion, they realise they're going to lose their seats anyway. They've been promoted, then demoted, and they start to play up because there are very few carrots to offer them that you're going to get promoted or something like that, or I'll campaign to keep your seat. So the things they didn't dare to say, they were good boys and girls, conformists, obedient in the hope of preferment. And when it's not going to happen, they can afford to be a bit brave, throw the toys out of the pram. And that's why it's always difficult for governments after over a decade in office. So don't believe that there was Tory chaos. It's a huge exaggeration. Anyway, thank you so much for watching my channel. Make sure you subscribe on Patreon, donate on PayPal, georgecallahan79@gmail.com. Goodbye.